What's going on, everybody? This episode of the podcast is sponsored by 101 CBD. Now, I know a lot of us are more than a little stressed out over what's happening in the world today, and anything that helps us cope with that stress a little easier is always welcome. You see, that's why I take the chill raw CBD oil from 101 CBD, because along with the calming properties of raw CBD, that CBDA, it's also blended with the highest quality of organic passion flower that just accentuates that chill factor and helps me with overall relaxation. And it also comes in their tasty, award-winning blueberry flavor. And right now, 101 CBD is offering free shipping on all orders over $25, same-day delivery service to Ojai and Ventura, and a free CBD hand sanitizer for orders over $47. So go over to 101cbd.org and take a look at all of their products, and order yourself some raw CBD oil today. And don't forget to use coupon code IMGS25 at checkout to get 25% off of that order. All right, now let's start the show. Well, everybody, welcome back. This is the In My Grow Show, the podcast dedicated to taking the mystery out of cannabis. I'm your host, Alex. And with me today on mic and in studio is my buddy, Rodney Medina. Rodney, buddy, welcome back to the show, man. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Alex. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else on a Saturday.
on a Corona Saturday.
That's right.
It might be a holiday because there's nobody out on the streets.
Strange times, right?
Oh, dude, for sure, man, for sure. But yeah, dude, it's a trippy, it's a trip out there. You know, people are losing their mind, and I think part of that is because really nobody in charge has any answers. So when you don't have any answers, my imagination is going to run wild with me. I'll make up all kinds of stuff that may be happening. Then we couple that with every outlet, whether social media or news, it's just inundate. That's all they're talking about is coronavirus and how it's going to kind of kill us, but we're really not sure.
Yeah, it's strange. I was talking to some friends from Mexico this morning, and they're starting the same thing, man. Hoarding of products, going to the stores, buying everything up. And, their cases are a lot less than we are here. But it just goes to show you when the media spreads out and, they're seeing CNN as well. And probably also with their own domestic media, they're seeing what's going on here. So they react the same without any real purpose or real reason as to why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, a lot of the hoardings also kind of caught me by surprise. I don't understand the water and the toilet paper. I mean, there's still water coming out of the tap, and the toilet paper. Why? You're just making it hard for me to just generally wipe my ass. I mean,
yeah.
That's yeah. So I don't know. Like you said, man, it's a trip, but aside from that, this was a big week for the podcast, man. It is the 100th episode, bro.
Man, that is an accomplishment. It really is. Congratulations.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming on, and because I invited you on for that reason, because one, we haven't heard from you in a while. We hadn't talked on the show for a bit. And yeah, just, just fucking share this. I don't know, man. Just have you on the show. I appreciate it, man, for sure.
Any show that can be on for 100 episodes about cannabis is an accomplishment in today's day and age. I mean, imagine this just 10 years ago, 5 years ago. There probably wouldn't be as much interest because there is not legalization. But here we are today, and here you are, 100 shows in, and you're doing your best. You're doing your best to educate people and inform people. And, you're doing your part, man. You're literally a part of history. So, I think you should wear that hat proudly. And, as a media person, I thank you for everything you've done.
Wow, for sure, man. Absolutely. And you know what? I don't do this alone, man, even though most of the time it's just me on the microphone or doing editing. I appreciate my family just supporting the fact that I do it, that they're awesome about it. All of my advertisers, Delta Leaf Labs, 101 CBD, everybody who's been involved with it, GreenCo Media, GreenCo Digital Marketing, everybody. And all the listeners too, everybody who's listening now, brothers and sisters, everybody out there, thank you. I truly do appreciate it, man. and especially all of those who have actually contributed financially to helping the show stay on the air and making it just easier for me to keep the show going. I truly do appreciate those funds,
Absolutely.
Let's see. Who else am I thinking? You know what? I got to thank my buddy Rooster. He's the one who helped me with the logo recently. A few months back, but, big shout out to him for helping me out then. And also another big thing that happened this week for the show is finally the podcast is up on iTunes.
That's awesome. Yeah, you sent me that address.
Yeah,
and
that was,
I gave you your review
for for 99 episodes. So, because when I launched the podcast, for whatever reason, I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't sync. The RSS feed wouldn't sync with Apple. Couldn't figure it out. Don't have those kind of skills. I can do a couple of things, but my skills are pretty limited. And when GreenCo Digital Marketing came on as an advertiser, Jaime, the guy in charge over there, the owner, he asked me how they could help the show. And I said, you know what? This is one of my biggest frustrations, is not being on iTunes. And he was really honest with me, man. He told me they'd never, that wasn't really what they specialize in. They've never really done it, but he was more than happy to dedicate a couple of hours to it, to dedicate some time to it. And last Friday, we were emailing and texting back and forth for about an hour and a half. And later that day, I get an email from Apple saying it's under review, which is good, but I was still kind of, I didn't want to celebrate too much. You never know how things go with cannabis and just everything else out there. And it wasn't until, that next Monday, I get an email saying it's up and it's ready to be listened to. I was fucking stoked. So again, huge thanks to GreenCo Digital Marketing, everybody over there. If you have a cannabis brand that needs help with these kind of things or other things, building a brand, getting noticed out there, go to greenco.website and we'll see how they can help you, man, for sure. So I've got a couple of hemp plants outside still, and they're just barely starting to flower, just barely. And they've struggled through the whole winter. I've tortured them for sure. It's they put up a good fight, but you know what? They survived through the winter. I started with 5. And I've got all but 2. So yeah, those are the fighters, but I'm checking them out a couple of days ago, and there's this big aphid just laying on the leaf, which kind of surprised me because it was still kind of cold at night. So I was like, wow, it seems, just why are they hanging out so early? I called Rincon Vitova, the insectary.
Great people.
Oh, dude, they're awesome. They're so smart, dude. And just, I forget sometimes, especially if I'm talking to Ron Whitehurst. If I'm talking to him and I ask him a question, he will just think that I'm like at his level and just start rattling off scientific stuff. And I'm sitting there like smiling like, yeah, sure. I'm going to go look all of this up when I get home, man. But anyways, getting back, Kyra answers the phone and I tell her my dilemma.
Kyra Rude.
Yes, Kyra. Huge shout out to her too, man. Totally smart lady, man.
I've never spent time with anybody talking about bugs as much as I have with her, and she makes it fascinating.
She really does. She really does distill it so where you can understand it. She really. They're great over there, man. Anyway, she was telling me that it's never too cold for aphids to show up. So actually, when I'm leaving here, I'm going to go down there and go pick up some green lacewing eggs. They're going to put them on some sticky cards for me. Mm-hmm. And I always remember when you're putting out lacewing eggs, just don't put them out right away. You got to give them a couple of days so they can hatch. Because if the ants find them, they will eat the eggs for sure. And then you're just feeding ants at that point. So you got to wait till they hatch a little bit, then they'll go after the aphids. But you also have to check for ants too, because since the aphids will secrete this little honeydew, this waste, they can't eat all of the chlorophyll, so they turn it into honeydew. That attracts ants. So ants will defend aphids, and they'll move from, one infected plant to a non-infected plant. So, but not worried about ants. Don't have ants. But yeah, I'm going to go pick up some lacewings, man.
So the ants are dependent upon the aphids. Not dependent, but they work to battle the aphids.
Oh yeah. No.
So they're dependent upon
the ants like the honeydew that the aphids secrete.
Gotcha.
So they'll defend the aphids.
Right. Okay.
Against biological predators. Yeah, they'll defend aphids, man. Without hesitation. And yeah, they put up a really good fight. So anyways, yeah, always check for ants when you're about to put out your biological predators.
How lucky you are to be able to run down to Rincon Vitova and make first get them give you the diagnosis and then be able to have a solution. And that's something that, most cannabis growers and hemp growers probably don't have in their area. I don't know. Maybe we take it for granted that they're just right down the road here.
Dude, I'm totally lucky because I live in Ojai. They're literally like fucking 5 minutes away from my house. And it's if you really go down there and get a tour, you got to watch out for Ron. He'll make you scoop up a handful of maggots. It's a little bit of a test for him, but he gets a big kick out of it. It's really funny, man. But totally, just the fact that the insectary is that close to me really helps because I'm not a big pesticide guy. I'm not a big chemical guy. And I understand, biological predators, you're going to have a certain level of pests. In order for the predators to stay, you got to keep feeding them something.
Well, you mentioned something earlier about your hemp plants that, the ones who survive, that's really part of creating a strong plant. Obviously, when it can survive that, and then the pests, that's something that outdoor growing produces a stronger plant than an indoor plant, even like a clone, since a clone isn't, made from a seed. A seed is going to be stronger. Is that what you're finding out, that it's much similar to cannabis? I mean, the hemp and cannabis are
the same.
Is this the first time you've grown hemp?
It's the first time I've grown hemp. Yeah. Yeah. Me and Justin Benton from 101 CBD popped a bunch of seeds. Oh man, last summer. But the ones that I kept them in a closet for the whole time. I just wanted to veg them out a little longer. And it wasn't until, probably about middle of winter, I put them outside, and they fucking didn't like it at all, man. They struggled, which is good. And again, it was mostly just a test. They're just starting to flower now. But yeah, anyways, man, it is I want to say it's the cherry wine or the brandy wine. One of those wines. But yeah, we'll see how it turns out, man. Yeah, and again, it was just a test. We were supposed to be part of a project out in the unincorporated part of Ventura, but that all fell apart because of the vote that happened there. But
that's why we have to stay engaged in local legislation.
That's why you do. You got to show up to the meetings. You got to register to vote. Just because they legalized anything in your state doesn't mean everybody's accepting, and doesn't mean the battle's over. Because if we don't show up, they will make cannabis and hemp regulations without you.
Yep, those not in my backyard people, the NIMBYs do show up, and they come in with numbers.
They're fucking loud,
and
too.
That's something that us in the cannabis and hemp industry, we just don't do enough of. Show up to those meetings. Even if you're half the voice that they are, at least it's an educational process. Take the NIMBYs and the council people or the supervisors in through this path of education, so that they understand that it's good for nature, it's good for the economy, it's good for so much more than just being a plant that you smoke. And that's the challenge. I think that with everybody who works in cannabis and hemp, they have to remember that, because we are at the mercy of legislation, over-regulation, and we can't do our work unless we're given more leeway to do what we're supposed to do, and that's grow this plant and provide it, and provide the magic that it gives. So please, folks, go out to your local city council meetings, go out to your county supervisor meetings. Review what they've just spoken about, or if you can't make it, at least so you know what's going on, because it's really important. They put that moratorium here in Ventura County. Now it's a half mile away that you can't grow hemp from any, all because people were there saying that it smells. Now I get that, it does smell. You don't want your kid going to school smelling like cherry wine, right? But that just means that we have to regulate ourselves better. The greenhouses have to be tight so that odor isn't getting out.
Well, and I don't think there were greenhouse grows.
No, there weren't.
They were all sun-grown. They were all outdoors.
So what we have to respond though? We put them in a greenhouse, or half a mile away is quite a distance. I was tracking one yesterday because there was some land for sale out in Oxnard, and and I was tracking my odometer to see how far away it was, and it was not within, and it seemed like it was way out there, but there was houses still within a half mile. I go, what a shame. What a beautiful property it was. All agriculture out there. Oxnard's rich with agriculture, and we can't grow hemp, so it's
yeah, and that's the thing. I don't know for sure, but there has to be an answer to it, and we all just got to come together. But as soon as we put up the barriers, because in the end, it is a commodity. There is going to be litigation, but it's going to be 3-5 years before anybody puts any seeds in the ground because of it, and then everyone's going to be pissed off because it's going to be neighbor against farmer. It just seemed like there should have been an easier way.
Sure. Well, there are people who don't like onions, and you can drive down the grade in Camarillo into the Oxnard Plain and smell onions.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? Yeah, I granted it's onions, and maybe you're smelling like a salsa or something, but it's not any different. And unfortunately, some areas, like most of those people who went to the Ventura County supervisors meeting, they're not from Oxnard. They're from more affluent areas of the county, if you want to put it that way. And they, their voices, unfortunately, are more heard and listened to than, say, the residents of Oxnard.
Well, it's also because they have more access to the influence out there.
Of course.
That's what it is. It's about the access to the influence, meaning the politicians or the supervisors, involved. They're able to...
Sure.
I don't know, man. Go to their office or give them a call on the phone. Who knows, man?
Yeah, they know how to work the system, and that's why I implore everybody to become a part, get in a group in your local area. If it's other growers, other dispensary owners, whoever your stakeholders are within your industry and your local industry. There's power in numbers, and write those letters to councilmen, write those or emails. And show up at the meetings so they know that you're there, so that when eventually you are making your plea, you already have a relationship with them. So it is really important to understand what's going on locally, because it affects our economy. When I say our, it's the hemp and cannabis industry.
It does. It would have created a whole bunch of jobs, man, a whole bunch of processing centers, even if it's just farmhand jobs. And more than likely, it would have raise those wages of farmhand jobs as well, of agricultural workers.
It just goes to show you that we as an industry have to be better at pitching, at laying out business plans, at laying out economic plans for a region. I think if they understand what the jobs were, I think if they understood what hemp could be, what products could be derived from hemp, if they understood more of that, they would open their ears a little more. But that's our fault too. We have to move in and educate them so that they understand what they're saying no to. If they're just saying no to an odor, that's easy. But if they're saying no to, like you just said, hundreds of jobs, when people are fighting to try to create jobs, then it starts to matter to people. There are some supervisors who are being backed by big oil companies here in Ventura County simply because they know that those candidates are quote unquote good for jobs. But what kind of jobs? Those jobs that they're bringing in aren't good for the environment. They're good for those big oil companies. We need to do the same. They spent almost $1 million backing 2 candidates who are the Ventura County supervisors' positions for this local preliminary election, and $1 million for little old Ventura County.
Wow, dude, that's a lot.
Yeah, because some of the opponents that they were putting those ads up against, they're very well known for protecting the environment, for doing things to help protect the coast, to protect the people of this county from environmental catastrophes that we know that happen. So it's worth $1 million to them. But it was quite astonishing to see Ventura County or issues of Ventura County on the regular news, on CNN, on Fox, with all that money being poured in.
Yeah, and it's like you were saying, a huge part of it is educating the public. And it's also about having the conversations with people who disagree with you. Because, I mean, you're going to run into those people who are really passionate and really just have a hatred for whatever may even look or smell like cannabis, even if it is hemp. But we just got to remember, it's not about just shouting somebody down, man. It's about educating, because that's the only way you're going to change their mind. And some people, you're not going to change their mind. Some people are just, they don't fucking care. They're against it, and it doesn't matter how you approach it with them, they're not going to care. But a lot of people, they're misinformed. A lot of it's some old thinking. The whole hemp issue out there in the unincorporated parts of the county was because a lot of people, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people associated the odor with cannabis. A lot of them seemed like they were thinking it went hand in hand. It was the same thing. And, again, once people get to that point, trying to roll back their thinking and get them to a place where they can actually have an open mind and listen to you. I think it's the way how we present it. If we started with, look, we're going to create jobs this way, we're going to figure out the odor thing, because there was blame all the way around. Everybody from the public to the farmers, we all could have just done a better job.
Yeah.
We just could have done a better job on everything. Yeah. It's bringing it back around. Everybody just, especially this year, because it's an election year, get out there and vote, man. Get involved. I don't care if you vote for what I'm standing for or against it, but stay involved. So something I wanted to talk about or hit against. Have you heard of cannabis-induced hyperemesis?
I have. And I'll tell you a little story about it. I was, I met a young lady at one of the cannabis event a couple of years ago. And then I saw her again in Las Vegas. And cool person, we spoke a little bit the first time I met her at this cannabis event. And huge advocate for cannabis. I was, she works in PR for cannabis, and she has this. It turned out that she was diagnosed with this. And when I was following her on social media, her name's Alice Moon. You guys should check her out if you want to learn about CHS. She was reporting that she had been sick, and she was in the hospital, and she was vomiting, and she was having to take hot baths, and she was rubbing some. There's a particular topical that they rub on their stomach to try to keep the vomiting down. And she was in the hospital for weeks, or definitely days, not knowing what was wrong with her. And eventually, it determined that she was diagnosed with CHS.
So I wonder, was she allergic? So I did a show about a year ago with Dr. Felice, and we talked about this. But it was, a year ago. A lot more research has been done. Mm-hmm. All the doctors that were involved or that had anything to say about it were mostly emergency room doctors, and they were thinking it was either an allergic reaction or something, or a contaminant or a pesticide in the weed, because most of the people who were coming down with it at the time were people who used concentrates.
Got you.
So the thinking was, well, some kind of pesticide or something got concentrated down. Mm-hmm. And one of the things they were looking at was azadirachtin, which azadirachtin is derived from neem oil or mm-hmm. neem cake, either one. Mm-hmm. But the reason people weren't really looking at it too hard was because neem has been used in agriculture for freaking thousands of years.
Sure.
So that's why, some of the research was really kind of hazy on it. They weren't really sure. It might or might not be. But apparently there's some new, and I don't even have the studies with me. I haven't really read all the way through them, but there are some studies saying that it may be the actual use of neem oil on the plants, because cannabis and hemp, they are both bioaccumulators and bioremediators. They do a great job of absorbing everything in the soil and putting it throughout, just carrying it systemically. Mm-hmm. In the oil, in the buds, it's just there. And I was talking to this one guy on social media, and he was telling me that he's had a bout with hyperemesis from cannabis, but that it's come from flower because he doesn't do concentrates. And the reason that they're now starting to look at neem oil is because the only thing, like you were saying, that alleviates it is a hot shower, apparently, and also like Benadryl, an antihistamine. So, and I haven't read the study, and I plan on getting Dr. Felice back on the show because that's one of the things I want to talk to him about is just the new research because, yeah, it's a trip, man, which made me wonder, okay, if we've been using neem oil for so long, especially in cannabis, that it really wasn't until states started to legalize that this issue started to come up. So basically, even if this happened to you when it was illegal, we were suffering in silence. Or, I don't know, fuck, you thought you had the fucking stomach flu or something. You had food poisoning. I don't know. Yeah, man, it's a trip. So,
well, Alice did go through those steps. You know, it was, they determined that it was the cannabis at some point, that it was CHS at one point. So she quit. And then she gave it a break for a while. And then she tried, because she would do edibles reviews, so that was the first thing she cut out. And then I guess it was flower, and then she had to quit for months. And this is an everyday cannabis user. And then she eventually went to just CBD, and that it was her worst experience after the CBD oil. She in her quote said, "I almost died." I mean, she was in the hospital.
Holy
and,
shit.
you know, you're not dying from the CHS itself, but all of the associated effects of being of vomiting for days, so much, a little sip of water she would throw up.
Wow.
So all from cannabis, right? So, and just a little more, and there's a great story. It just came out, I think, a couple days ago on Forbes about this, about Alice. Javier Hasse, I think is his name. You can look it up, Forbes magazine. They do a story on Alice Moon. She was, obviously she's bringing in awareness to the industry, and she's telling her experience, and unfortunately she's getting a lot of hate from people within the industry because they think she's like a plant from big pharma trying to go against cannabis, and she's nothing but an advocate for cannabis. She works in public relations for cannabis, but that's how people are reacting to her. I mean, literally sending her bad, or even posting it on social media, things that she doesn't know what she's talking about, or which is just really unfair when she's really trying to educate everybody within the industry, and not just the industry. What happens if when we do go more mainstream and people start falling off or falling over because of CHS? She's going to be the only one who can stand up and say, "I tried to tell you," and nobody listened.
Well, it's ridiculous to give her hate because, one, it is a reality, and it is a reality that we don't have an answer for. I mean, I don't care if you're in the industry, it's still something we still have to fucking deal with.
Sure.
Because like you said, as soon as it goes federal, or as soon as the States Act goes through and more states adopt it, a lot more people are going to be getting sick.
Sure.
And we should have the answer. The industry should have the answer for it. Because if we don't, here's how I imagine it's going to go down. A lot more people are going to be getting sick, and everyone's going to be pointing at every other thing instead of the industry having, no, this is what it is. You're just allergic, or it's whatever. It's something. It's an additive in what you're taking. But we should be the ones that have the answer for that.
Sure. I mean, when you're prescribed a pharmaceutical, you're required to go take. It depends on the pharmaceutical or the drug that you're taking, but you're required to go and get a blood test to see if you have TB or any of the associated illnesses that would affect that pharmaceutical you're about to take. We should be able to do the same thing in the cannabis industry if we're going to start prescribing cannabis as a healing or to help a certain health condition. Hopefully someday there would be a test to say, let's see if you have CHS before you start your cannabis regimen. Otherwise, you're defeating the whole purpose of trying to heal or help heal somebody with cannabis.
True. And those industry people who, just are uncomfortable with the conversation. I mean, are they afraid because they don't have confidence in their product? Or, I mean, what is it really? Because that kind of thinking just makes me think that the industry wants everybody to believe that cannabis is a panacea, that it'll cure everything.
Sure.
It doesn't cure everything. Fuck, I'm not even saying it cures anything. Does it help with symptoms of a lot of things? Yeah, fuck yeah, it does. But to this idea that it causes no harm to everybody, it's a bullshit idea. It's not true. Some people do have allergies to it. Some people,
Sure.
It does affect negatively to it.
Sure.
And we need to talk about that. And it sucks for her. I mean, fuck, it would suck for me if suddenly I developed an allergy to it. I mean, because I know people who developed an allergy to shellfish when they were in their 40s.
Sure. The body's always changing.
You know? I mean, I had a friend, we were out having fucking sushi one night, and he started to blow up like a balloon. And I'd had sushi with this guy before. And we didn't know what was wrong with him. We took him to the hospital, and the doctor said, yeah, he basically has a shellfish allergy. And we're like, fucking since when? He's like, since yesterday, I guess. You know, but it's a reality, though. We can't just shut people down just because it makes us uncomfortable. Yeah, we the industry people who, we should have the answer to that, man.
Yeah. So I would recommend that people follow her on social media because she is such an advocate for CHS and an advocate for cannabis. You can follow her on, if you don't mind me mentioning it.
No, go ahead,
because it is
man.
all about education. You can follow her on Facebook. She's Alice Moon. On Instagram, the Alice Moon, and she's even on Twitter, Alice Moon. You just Google her, you'll find articles written, and we need to support her because she's doing good. She's doing good for the industry. She's doing good for patients, and we hope that the people who are giving her a rough time can just lay off, man. Focus on their own business.
I'm gonna reach out and see if she'll come on the show.
I'm sure
I'd
she
like
would.
to hear her story
She
because
would love
I don't
to.
know a lot of people with who suffer from hyperemesis from cannabis.
Yeah. Oh, she'd be a great interview.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna reach out. Right on. So speaking of infectious diseases or diseases in general, bro, the coronavirus this past week just fucking came on the scene like nothing else, man. Everything is canceled. Like, and they don't want people showing up anywhere together.
The coronavirus brought me here today with you because I should be at Cannabis right now. This is the week of
that's
Cannabis.
right, dude.
I was there last year, had a great time, had plans to go this year. Had already connected with some friends that I had met last year who have a farm out in Valencia in España. And it was just the traveling thing was already starting to be an issue a couple of weeks ago. And we just canceled the trip. I thought, they're going to cancel Cannabis. They have to. Okay, look, the cannabis culture, what do we do when we get around each other? We smoke, right?
Not just smoke, man. We
share
joints.
We
share
right?
joints.
That's the whole culture, man. Last year when I was there, I can't even count how many different groups I was a part of at the event itself, where we were just sharing a joint. And I thought, how are they going to manage
How are they going to control
that?
Right.
And they had even said on the website, we're taking precautions. We know that this is an issue, but we think that we can. What are you going to do? Tell people not to smoke, not to share?
No, here's what you do: is you just pass out more joints.
Exactly. Everybody gets their own. That's right.
Joint.
I mean,
but it does ruin the culture because then you're telling everybody don't share.
Don't share.
But that's fucked up.
So they canceled it. They canceled it a couple days ago, and it would have started yesterday. And
you were telling me people were already there. They canceled
Sure.
it on Wednesday. It was supposed to start Friday. I was like, fuck. Can you imagine being there and be like, well, fuck, now what? Not only that, but everything interesting is probably closed.
Sure.
Where are you going to go in Spain?
And then Trump announces that no flying in from Europe, so that without any details, I must add, as to who cannot fly. Everybody was a panic.
Can you imagine just being like, oh, fuck,
people were paying up to $20,000 for last minute tickets back home.
What? Come
That's
on.
crazy. Yeah.
20?
Yes.
God damn.
I have to go before Saturday or Friday night.
Oh yeah, before they shut the fucking country.
Yeah. That's why you got to have details when you're out there in front of the public making speeches.
Man.
Trying to lead. You got to have details in what you're saying. Otherwise, people panic
Broad
and
strokes
go
with that
and
guy.
pay
Broad
$20,000 and hoard toilet paper and water.
Oh fuck, man! Toilet paper and water. We were talking about it earlier. I don't get that, dude. What? The water still comes out of my tap. Why are you guys getting water?
Exactly.
I mean, go ahead, get water, whatever. I mean, the water machine around the corner from my house still works.
Yeah.
But the toilet paper, you're just making it hard for me to just do the basic things in the morning. Come on, guys. Why the run on toilet paper? It's a psychological thing.
My daughter was in LA last night. She's saying, Dad, I'm just out trying to get some groceries. There's nothing left. And I said, go to a Mexican market. She went to a Mexican market that's just a few minutes away. It was closed. It was closing as she got there. And you want to know how the communists felt in the 80s in Soviet Union? I was on the phone with her and she says, "Dad, they have a lot of stuff in there." He was outside. I go, "Now you know where to go in the morning." So, hey, people, go to your Mexican markets, go to your Asian markets, because they're fully stocked up, because, hey, those Mexican markets are strategically located in neighborhoods where people probably aren't as crazed up as the general population. So support your markets, because that's important too. The Costco's and all the other big businesses are getting getting all of the money. Go support your other small markets as well. Support your
small market. You're always welcome. Don't be afraid of us.
That's
you're
right.
Okay. You're
right.
Always welcome.
We don't look like you, but guess what? We have toilet paper.
That's right. We got toilet paper. We got water.
We have tajin. Come on, bro.
You got tajin for your mango.
That's
wow,
right.
That sounds dirty all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, dude. So earlier I said you are on mic and in studio. What do you got going on here now, dude? What are you trying to do over here, man?
Oh man, I've been discovered. I'm a big advocate for education, and all the time. So I quite a while ago, I made a decision that I was going to set up a studio so that I could do just that, bring individuals in, help educate the general public and cannabis patients about cannabis and CBD. Because, when you probably get the same thing when you're out in the general public and you're talking about, as advocates, all we do is talk about this, right? Somebody tells you, "Oh yeah, my back hurts. Hey, have you tried CBD? We want to do it." And then you spend 15 minutes explaining how cannabis or CBD can work for them. And and I come from a semi-recent background in the cannabis education business. So I really kind of got addicted to just help spreading the word about the goodness of this plant and the spirit of this plant. And so I'm building the studio to where I can bring folks in and create educational content in English and in Spanish.
So, and just a reminder, you came from television, right?
Yes. Yeah. I 25 years in television, broadcast, industrial, and then of course how when computers were inserted into the scene, then everything kind of compartmentalized. But still, if you learned the computer, you could do a lot of things. You could do graphic design, you could do editing, and I did all those things even before we were digital. So a lot of my work went from television now to what we would call marketing and advertising, because it's now online. I don't remember the last thing I even produced that came out on television. Everything is online now. But and I have a background in infomercials as well. So I'm always educate, inform, and sell. In this case, selling is the idea of cannabis as a beneficial tool to help solve health conditions. So that's, my television background. I think to me, as I'm a messenger, right? I have to try to take an idea, mold it in such a way that I can teach that to somebody so they can understand what that idea is in a way that they can understand it. So I think that's the greatest gift that I have to cannabis is as a media, as a content creator, as a media person, to take those skills and take the ideas of cannabis, the goodness of cannabis, and bring it to the people.
So just some broad strokes, man. When you imagine this, is it a YouTube channel or is it a destination where people can go and it's just different educational bits or different educational shows? Or is it just all entertainment about cannabis?
It's not entertainment. I mean, if you look at cannabis, there's the cannabis industry. There's cannabis content for patients. There's cultural stories that are out there. People who are other countries who are doing things about the cannabis in their country. How some of the nonprofits are working. How some of the people are accepting or not accepting and of cannabis in their region. There's stories about veterans who are they just passed a bill this week, or they're I read that it's not really a bill, but it's it was one of the veterans congressional groups.
So did they pass that? Why are they going to let have more access.
They're going to let them have. They're going to let them have more access.
I know they voted
for
on
PTSD.
Thursday,
yeah, and they moved that forward.
Because right now, I think, and I'm not a veteran. I'm not part of the VA. I may be getting this wrong, but I think that for a lot of veterans, you can't be discovered using cannabis and going to the VA for whatever ails you, whatever issue you may have gotten, because from how I understand it, they can throw you out of whatever
benefits program.
Yeah, whatever
benefits
program
you're
a part of. Yeah, because of cannabis, because one, it's federally illegal, and two, I guess you sign an agreement saying you're not going to deviate from their what do you call it? I'm brain farting, bro.
You're not going to deviate from their guidelines or their...
There you go. From whatever they're going to prescribe for.
Sure. Their regimen of the drugs that they want to give you.
Yeah, the drugs that they want, the government to pay for.
No, baby steps, man. And, PTSD is a huge issue with our veterans. And they at least need to be addressed in a manner that's compassionate, number one. And we know how many vets die every day of suicide. We don't know the horrors that they've gone through in these wars that the government puts them in. And we need to take better care of them, man. And more chemicals in their body is not necessarily the answer. And if cannabis can provide them relief from PTSD, which we know that it does work. Revealing a little bit, one of the doctors on my platform, Dr. Paolo Pineda, she does presentations on cannabis and PTSD specifically. Now she's down in South America, but PTSD is everywhere. It doesn't have to be from a war. It can be from abuse. It can be from drug wars. It can be from waking up in the morning and a bomb went off and your relative was in that club where the bomb went off in. PTSD comes in many forms, and she's been doing this research with patients and can demonstrate in a scientific manner why it works. So we need, and this is another country. Why aren't we doing that here? Why isn't that research being done here effectively with the best cannabis available? The research that's been done here, I think they're getting the cannabis from the University of Mississippi because the federal government that's the only location or university or area where they can grow cannabis that can use it in federal research. Come on, man. How can you be in Mississippi growing cannabis and thinking that this is the best cannabis that you should use for such a test?
Well, that's always been the argument with the University of Mississippi, is they're the only ones that had the license federally, as far as how I understand it, to grow cannabis for research. But as you were saying, it's low quality cannabis, and different research projects and groups are asking the government to allow other people or allow other companies to provide them with that cannabis because they need better quality. They need the quality that people are actually using and getting in shops in order to really make the right comparison between what cannabis can and can't do. Because if it sounds like Mississippi is still growing that Mexican brown weed, bro, that really seedy, stemmy, that's what it sounds like, And I don't get, how are you going to actually test the effects of 22% THC cannabis on people and actually write a well-written paper to try and understand how the effects of cannabis are on people, on patients?
Yeah, I just read an article recently that kind of detailed the top 5 countries in the world that are doing the best cannabis research, and the United States is not on that list. You have Israel, you have Uruguay, you have, they had some other ones, but that just goes to show you that, the best research is not coming out of this country. And we're supposed to be the leaders of the world, the free world, and in everything.
Well, at the very least, we got the best tasting weed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what? I can't say that, man. I haven't had any European weed, but Yeah, I know we got pretty good weed.
Yeah, we do. California and Oregon, Washington. Everybody says, "Oh, we got the best weed." Colorado, but hey, that's
go to BC. BC's got the best weed.
Right. Well, we'll see how Mexico does, man. They're coming online, man.
That's the thing. Okay, so Mexico, they have to have their laws set up by the end of April, from what I understand.
Right.
And
they just voted to preliminarily legalize it.
Legalize it across the board.
Recreational,
medicinal, hemp, everything. You can, what is it? You can be holding up to 200 grams.
Mm-hmm. Still trying to determine how many plants that you can grow. I've heard anywhere from 4 to 20.
I've heard, I was checking it out. I read somewhere between 6 and 20. Again, there's nothing out there as far as the regulations that are written.
Yeah.
We have to go back and look at just different versions of it.
I just texted my friend who's in Mexico, Lorena Beltran, who's an activist down there, and she's really involved in right before we came on, and she texted me back. I haven't listened to her yet, but I asked her that specifically. Hey, do you know how many plants that they're looking to grow yet? So the answer is sitting right there on the phone. But
read it out. Come on. Okay.
Well, I don't know. I haven't read it. It's a recording. She left an audio message. But it's exciting for Mexico because it's going to become the largest market of in the world. 130 million people. That will, because it will be federally legal. I know we have more people here, but it's not legal in all our states. 130 million. That's bigger than Canada. That's bigger than a lot of countries. So we're going to have the biggest cannabis market right to the south of us, and which is going to open up not just cannabis legalization for adult use, but for medicinal purposes, which is even more important, for research. They're already doing research in Mexico, but it just opens up so many doors. All the doors that are closed here from a federal standpoint are going to be open there. So I'm really excited for Mexico, especially on the hemp front as well. I was just out at a ranch a few months ago in Guanajuato. And this ranch wants to grow hemp, and they can't do it because it was illegal. But we built a hemp house down there.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting next month because a lot of things. It's going to affect the American market for cannabis and hemp in a big way that I don't think people are talking about. Because if you think the hemp market was saturated this year, you think it's saturated now? Wait until Mexico comes online, and they actually have hemp that you can produce cheaper than what we can produce it here.
Yeah.
And nobody's really wanting to talk about that because it scares them, which is understandable. A lot of states are trying to get their own industry up and running, and then the whole country is going online. And it's going to be a trip to see. It's also going to be really interesting to see how a state like Texas is going to deal with that. Texas has the only kind of cannabis market they have is a CBD market that only allows for low CBD. I think they're talking no more than 0.4, 0.5 of CBD. I know it's super low. I'm not exactly sure what the number is. And it's only 7 qualifying conditions. And Texas is about to have a whole country right next to them. And so you want to talk about diverting, because there's no stopping them. It's not illegal anymore. People are going to grow, like you were saying, cannabis and hemp as much as they can. And there's a huge social equity program in the Mexican law. Mm-hmm. If it sticks the way it's been written.
They want to limit foreign investments. They want to give opportunity to the local people to be a part of the business, as it should be. Nothing worse than seeing people coming from other countries and taking advantage of your people for the dollar when they've been struggling for decades just to try to make an economy out of whatever they have.
Well, when I read that part about the social equity bit, it reminded me of something you told me about, something you had mentioned to someone. I think it was down in Colombia. About allowing the indigenous people to have control of, what was it, the processing of cannabis? so they don't get left behind, or the making of concentrates?
It could have been the Yarumal story, where they were doing the research on cannabis for Alzheimer's, and part of the industry in that Yarumal Valley were, it's run by organized crime, because of the coca. They did not know how they were going to handle replacing the coca, because it was a government sponsored program where they were going to grow cannabis to try to help these people in the Yarumal Valley who have a high propensity for Alzheimer's, more than anywhere in the world. And they were going to eradicate the coca grows and replace it with cannabis, which was going to piss off some folks. How do you keep them involved? Give them the processing. Give them the processing, or the, sort of the same thing that they're doing now. Make them part of the industry, make them part of the business. And that was kind of from what I understand, was helpful in that turning point for the government to approve that program, because they didn't know what they were going to do.
So I thought that when like I was saying, when I read that, that's what that made me think of. That'd be a really good way to help these lower income people, whether it's the farmers, or I don't know about lower income, just people who have less, whether it's the farmers or just stressed out neighborhoods. They have to be able to give them control of something.
Sure.
Because really that's the only way they're going to have that industry thrive.
Sure.
Because if you turn it over either to the black market again, or to big business, it's all the benefits are just going to go away. They're not going to stay in the community.
Well, some of the issues with that, like the indigenous people can grow it, right? They're growing it now. They're growing a lot of things. They're growing vegetables and fruits and what have you. But the reason they're not getting the dollar or the money that they should is because the roads to some of these remote farms are pretty hellacious. So organized crime said, we'll build the roads. We'll make a road to and from your place.
Hey, man, the universe hates a vacuum.
And guess what they control? They control the transportation. So now when you control the transportation, you control how much these farmers are going to get. You want to get your stuff out of here, we're going to take it for you. And, they're kind of at the mercy of if it's not organized crime, it's the other organized crime, the government. One of the two are going to. So there has to be a way that everybody can hopefully work together, because ultimately it comes to helping people, helping the indigenous people from the country. So hopefully something can be worked out, but you never know.
So the other thing about Mexico legalizing is the market share that the U.S. is about to lose worldwide in cannabis, in hemp. Because we do have this really fractured, just kind of patchwork of regulations and what is and isn't accepted. And yeah, dude, it's just going to be a trip, bro. We're going to end up being left more behind. We're talking about both of our neighbors, Mexico and Canada, that have a program, that have an industry for this to go forward. While Americans, we're still kind of uptight, like, oh no, I'm not sure. It's we're shooting ourselves in the foot, man. It's taking us too long. It really is.
We're going to be forced into legalization because of that, our proximity to legal countries. And I think if the politicians knew how to monetize it for their own selves, like they do everything else, they would jump on it. They just don't know. But what they also don't realize is they can't control. I don't believe they can control the entire cannabis and hemp market the way they do with oil and everything else today. Only because there's hemp alone, how many products can you make from hemp? Over 60,000?
Yeah.
Anything that is made from oil can be made from hemp.
Anything that's made from oil or wood
can be made from hemp. How you can't dominate that. There's just so many things that you can make. And,
let's just talk about hempcrete itself.
Right.
Just the fact of just the fact that you can build a house from it and then furnish it using hemp products. That in itself speaks volumes of what we're in for.
And you can grow hemp faster.
Yeah, absolutely. You can grow hemp faster. It takes a lot less water. So,
and when you build your house out of it, or you just include it in your home, it's cleaning the air. It's even works as a bioaccumulator when it's not in the ground.
A bioaccumulator, is that true? It works as a bioaccumulator when it's not in the ground?
Well, whenever the way I understand it is, you know how they have zero carbon. We're supposed to be building things with zero carbon building properties here in California by some particular year. But it's actually a negative carbon. So whenever you do put it in your house, say as insulation, it's actually cleaning the air in your home. So you have a cleaner, healthier home. Think of all the chemicals. Think of all the chemicals we have in our house, not the ones under the sink, in the paint on the walls, in the plastic, on the furniture, just everything, your computer, everything that is man-made is leaking chemicals, and we're breathing that every day. Hemp doesn't do that. Hemp is actually helping you.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah,
that's a trip.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
there you go. Once again.
And we wonder why we're sick all the time. I mean, even hemp as an insulator. I've seen hemp insulation made exactly like that pink stuff, that pink insulation the one you're supposed to wear a mask when you install it, as if that stuff isn't just leaking out through the boards anyway. But you can't breathe it. But it's in everybody's house.
Right.
They have that hemp insulator now. It's made almost the same way. You know, paper, the fiber of hemp, and then paper, and they're using it. It works. It's just as effective, if not more, and it's cleaner. That's just one sample of how, one example of how hemp can replace a product that we already know and used to and use. That's better for people, for humans living in a home.
Yeah, it's going to be a trip to see, man, this summer, what all that's going to look like when Mexico goes online, dude.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier about that there was you said there's too much hemp being grown here in the United States. That's just for CBD oil or CBD products.
Right, for sure. That's just biomass.
What we don't have is, we're in this quandary because we have enough, more than enough for the tinctures and all the CBD products, but we don't have enough to make an impact from a textile point of view. For those things like the drywall insulation, hempcrete. No, you ask any person who's in hemp right now who's advocating for building hemp. Well, how much does that house cost to make? Well, it depends. It depends on the market. Now, everything depends on the market, but hemp is even more. Building a house made of hempcrete is even more susceptible to price changes because there's not enough of that hemp. Where are you going to get it? If you were going to build, even supply 100 homes with that hemp insulation, a contractor needs to know how much is that going to cost per house to put into into my development.
So we can't use the biomass left over from like CBD oil to make that.
I'm sure you can, but are you going to have it on a consistent basis? And where is it? Who you have to ship it from? Sometimes it's coming from back east, from the Carolinas. Sometimes from Colorado, China. We built a hemp house in Mexico, and the hemp was imported from China. Now, China's growing a lot of hemp.
Yeah, they are.
So if Mexico can grow a lot of hemp, then maybe we can start actually making progress in showing the world what we can do as a country here with our fabrication skills, how hemp can be used to help change the world and the way we live through textiles and, materials, clothes, whatever.
And again, dude, that all goes back to just education, man.
Sure.
Because I'll be honest. I the only kind of hemp that I was ever familiar with was fiber hemp. So when the hemp industry, the CBD industry really took off here and people were saying hemp, that's the only thing in my mind was that long bamboo-like hemp. Sure. Wasn't until I actually saw an actual CBD hemp plant that it looks just fucking exactly like cannabis. Sure. Do you think part of that is because the market's so new still and there's still so much pushback that we don't have that people don't know the difference or understand what the actual, all of the benefits are? You mean consuming hemp? Yeah. Hemp CBD? Well, no, just hemp in general, just the production of hemp in general, that the public isn't educated. It's definitely lack of education. Right now, everything is, right now when people say hemp, everyone's just imagining CBD anyway.
Sure. But they don't, I mean, and the lay person doesn't understand that. I've had discussions literally just 2 weeks ago. I had a discussion with a lady and I kept telling her the benefits of hemp. And she kept asking me 3 or 4 times within the conversation, but am I going to get high? And I would tell her that, no, there's no psychoactive properties, this, that, and the other, THC, tell her the difference, but am I going to get high? She, they're not listening.
She's on a loop.
Yeah,
now.
she's on am I going to get high? She was concerned, am I going to get high? Am I going to feel, you shouldn't feel anything but relief, that inflammation if you're, I was giving her the pitch. But that's a huge stigma to overcome. And that's why education is important. To me, if you educate the patient, you're growing the industry. You can educate people from the industry all you want on how to talk to people.
You're just singing to the choir. But
yeah.
It's kind of like
educate the patient, man. They're gonna be knocking on legislation doors. Hey, I want my CBD. I want my cannabis. So that's, I think, so you're part of that, man.
Yeah, brother. Yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. Hey, so speaking of hemp and cannabis and CBD, so what is this Nube CBD that you're associated with?
Well, it's me being around cannabis and CBD. I became part of a company called Nube CBD, and we create CBD products, a topical, some tinctures, cartridges, CBD vape cartridges, and flower.
Oh, so you guys do like
top
smokable
flower. Funny you mentioned cherry wine earlier. That's one of our cultivars.
Hey man, I'm stressing it out at my house. So,
yeah. So stressed cherry wine.
I'm stressed. There you go, man.
So I just thought it was important to, one of the things that I'm finding in this industry is that, I've always been a fan of cannabis. Was I ever an advocate for it? Not really, because of the stigma. He was one of those things. It was
fucking illegal.
Yeah, it was illegal.
Stand up and cheer and
get
arrested.
As I became involved in education and learning the science behind it, I got really excited about, hey, I need to be an advocate for this. Again, he was putting the gifts of television with the needs. And I wanted to see what the opportunities that there were, in this industry. But what I feel is missing is a lot of people still are not, people are coming into this industry and they're forgetting what we're supposed to be doing in support of the spirit of cannabis and the plant and its goodness and what we're supposed to do. And there's
a lot of people getting into this business just for the money.
Of course. And I know.
And there's nothing wrong with making money.
No, and I understand we need those. The cannabis industry does need those people who know how to take an idea and profit from it. But I think every company also needs to have and maintain that culture and that appreciation for what the plant is. Because once you lose that, I think you lose yourself as a company, because now your motivation is only money. And I really see, there's people who are well into this, more into the esoteric feeling of cannabis than I am. And then there's people who are just in it for the industry. For the money. And I find myself in the middle. You have to have that appreciation. You have to have understanding and of the plant and why it's such a gift for us, and that we need to use it to our advantage. But I've also seen companies that, with the leadership, who claim they have a culture, claim they're working for the spirit of the plant, and they treat their people like shit. And they treat their employees like shit. They run through them like, high turnover. You see it, it's happening in the industry, and more so now than a year ago. It's no wonder they're failing, because they've forgotten their role. And to me, the industry is figuring itself out right now. I'm no expert in the entire industry. I just know from what the people that I come in contact with, and I even see it in that micro environment as well. I see it here locally. I see the people who are in it just for the money, and I see the people who are really truly appreciative of the plant. And those are the people who are the legacy people, the people who come from the illicit market. They still have more of an appreciation for the plant than the ones who are jumping in.
When it's safe and there's no fear of, the cops kicking down your door.
Sure.
All right, now I'm ready for cannabis.
Sure.
So like, you motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah. Where were you 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Guys like Paul Stanford, guys like Steve D'Angelo, guys like, there's so many. Those are the guys who just come to mind.
Sure.
But those are high profile people. And there's other ones who demand just as much respect that we don't know. And there's a reason why we don't know, because they've been unknown. But those are pioneers. Those are people who have made what's possible. Have made it what's possible today, and we can never forget that. So if you ever want to check yourself and as a business, and what kind of attitude you should have, look to the past and see what they went through to get you to where you are today. Because without that feeling, without that understanding of what cannabis is and the fight that has been going on for decades, I don't think you'll have the true understanding of the plant that will help you manage your day-to-day business.
Yeah, well, we shouldn't forget that for a long time, there were a lot of people who were doing this illegally. And a lot of the things that we've learned and a lot of the things that this industry, the way it goes forward, we learned it from them. And a lot of those people are incarcerated too. A lot of
Sure.
those people have already caught a charge, and they could be, and it's still on their record.
You can still be arrested by the feds today in California, as
you
legal
still
as
can.
it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's stores.
You got to be real careful smoking a joint in a federal park.
Sure.
Because if you get a park ranger who's a dick, bro, he can fucking charge you.
Sure.
He can charge you federally.
Again, man, education. I think more people need to know these little subtle nuances of legislation that are in our air, that are on the books out there, that where you can endanger yourself.
Yeah, and a lot of people in California, a lot of legal states don't realize that about federal. Because I'm a huge proponent of going out and camping and just being out, but yeah, you got to remember, man, they're federal employees, and if they want to fucking jam you up, they can.
Park rangers can arrest you, right?
Park rangers can arrest you.
They're
Dude,
cops.
No, park rangers have more power to arrest you than cops do, because like sheriffs, they can only go within their jurisdiction. A federal park ranger or a state park ranger can arrest you from fucking San Diego to Sacramento. Doesn't matter where they're
like
at.
CHP.
Yeah, dude, they'll pull you over, give you a ticket. Yeah, dude, park rangers are no joke. It's a trip. Fucking Smokey the Bear, check that out.
Yeah.
Hey, so Nube is spelled Nube because it's Spanish for cloud.
Cloud.
Right? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And that's we did that intentionally, obviously. The Latino market is being left behind with regards to products specifically for them. And it's our goal to grow that brand in the Latino market, as well as educating them. I'm going to do my part in educating people, because
How hard is that though, bro?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult.
I mean, we've spoken about it before
Sure.
too. The amount of stigma that the Hispanic people, the Spanish speaking culture has for all drugs.
Sure.
Just because a majority of a lot of the Spanish speaking culture knows what it's like to live with that cartel violence.
Sure. And people literally died, and they know people who died, and that stigma is tough to overcome. There's multiple challenges with marketing to the Latino market. There's challenges just marketing cannabis and CBD anyway. The local Spanish radio station will not put a CBD ad on. I've talked to them about it. I've approached them. They won't do it, not yet. And it's CBD.
Yeah, I've spoken to a couple of people in radio of advertising. They're like, no, they're not ready yet, I guess, until federal.
Yeah, well, but there's radio stations late at night who have CBD commercials. English speaking, some major outlets here in Los Angeles have CBD commercials, and so it's whether I don't know if they're breaking any FCC rules by doing it, but obviously, one of the commercials says, that thing that you have. I mean, that's literally what he said. That thing that you have, that health condition? Well, CBD can help it. They didn't make any medical claim whatsoever. They just said, that thing you have.
That thing you have.
And then they'll
Doesn't let you
say,
sleep at night.
and then they'll say, 9 out of 10 of our customers say, right? They're not saying 9 out of 10 Americans,
Sure.
or 9 out of 10 of our customers are saying that it helps them sleep. So they have to be very careful. So, but the cutting through that stigma is going to be a difficult thing. The other thing is that the Latinos, they're the younger people are online, but the people with the aches and pains, if you equate it to the largest growing cannabis consumer group is people or the senior or the elderly. I think 65 and over. I think it was a 75% increase over the past 4 years. That's a huge, and our people in that same age range are not online. But they're listening to radio, they're watching TV, but they're not online. So how do we reach them? We think we have a plan for that. That's a double challenge, right? You can't advertise cannabis or CBD, and then how do you reach people who are not online? We think we have an answer for that. So
I've always found it interesting about the cannabis industry when we talk about the Spanish-speaking culture, because, and even English-speaking culture, it seems like the education is flowing the other direction as far as, classically, we should think most things educational-wise flows from older people to young. Whereas now, a lot of young people are the ones taking the reins and actually bringing those older people to it and saying, no, look, yes, it is all those things. People love to celebrate with it as far as cannabis. People love to get high, all of those things. But it also does these other things. There is a line between actual using it as a medicine for medicinal purposes.
Sure.
And then having a little more and now you're partying, which is okay, but you just got to understand where the therapeutics lie for each individual.
Sure.
And that's why I ask, man. It's a big challenge, man. Getting your abuela, getting your tia, getting your jefita to be like, nah, fuck you. You just want to get high.
Yeah, well, that's, the culture, and it's ironic that the culture does have a lot of does use natural herbs and pomadas and things that they're used to, right? Our culture is used to that. You go down to the stores, even here, the Mexican markets, they have things, they have topicals here that you don't see anywhere else. You don't see them in Bonds or Trader Joe's. So they have ingredients that that they're used to using, whether it's aloe vera, whether it's arnica, whatever. There are some ingredients they already used to that have quote unquote healing properties to them. So let's just introduce CBD into something that they're already used to, and tell them the benefits, and don't get too technical over it. The endocannabinoid system and CB1 and CB2 receptors. You don't need to do all of that.
No, you don't, because most of the time you're just doing it just to hear yourself
right,
talk.
Exactly.
Just
like I just did right now. I want everybody to know it. I know what an ECS
smart,
is, right? A pain doctor once told me that the Latinos this was a Chinese doctor. He was a pain management doctor in Alhambra. And he once told me that the Latino patients were his favorite because they would just do whatever he told them to do. No questions. He would say,
no questions. You got a white coat on? All right, doc,
he says, okay, I trust you. Okay. But the other patients, los gabachos, they'll come in and they have a list of questions. Well, how about this and how about that? And he says, look, I can't spend, and we go to a doctor's appointment. How long are they with you? 5 minutes, 10 minutes? They don't want all of that. You're biting into their profits. You're biting in their time. They want to help you. And that's, the pain doctor says, I love to spend time with people. I would rather, but when they already know and they trust me, they're just going to do what I tell them to do. And I'm really trying to help them. So if we can do that same thing with CBD and get the doctors who speak Spanish, who are from the mother country, and whether your mother country is Colombia or Mexico or Chile or España, get those doctors to help explain the benefits in a simple manner. It's a white coat. We need to make these people superstars. They need to know that there's a whole science team behind all of this and behind this industry. They're not getting that here in the United States. We can't even say that they're doing that in English here. We can't say, hey, look over there. Look at all that research that's coming out of that area. We can't even say that here because it's federally illegal. But in those countries that I just stated, there's research going on. You can point to various foundations and medical groups that are doing the research that are actually helping patients and say, look, this is what cannabis and CBD can do. So we have to get that information to our Latino friends here and all around the world. That education has to come out. And that's what we want to do with Nube. We want to be that pipeline of information from science to your medicine cabinet.
So, getting back to your pre-rolls, bro. You got that cherry wine? You got it here or what?
Yeah, we do. I'll have to hook you up with some. We have a couple different strains.
I think we should do an experiment, bro.
Yeah,
we should smoke a joint.
Yeah.
Because I got a joint. A little, what's it called? I think it's diesel cake.
Mm.
And we'll see how high we get. And then we'll actually see, because you know how everybody touts, you know, and myself included, because I'm repeating, you know, the research, that CBD, you know, dampens the effects of THC. You know, you come down a little easier. Doesn't make you sober, but you're not as high.
I see. You want to do,
you know,
want to follow up on like a chaser.
Yeah, well, you know, just to see, you know,
if it works. So that
know?
Means we have to get really high first.
Get really high.
Okay, and then
note it, and then we'll see how.
Got you. Okay.
Then, I mean, it might take a couple of tries. We may have to like revisit the experiment some other times.
Yeah,
but
that's the advice I give everybody. As you know, educate, man. Anytime you take a new medicine, you should always document what you're feeling. How do I feel now? How do I feel in 15 minutes? How do I feel in half an hour? Because they always ask me, well, how much tincture should I take? I don't know your body. It's different for everybody. Write it down.
Write it down. You'll figure.
Write it down,
yeah,
dude. A guy sent me. You know, when they know I'm in the cannabis industry or CBD industry, people send me shit. And I have a friend who put together this mix, this spray. He called it. It's a pain spray. He goes, I want you to try it. I want to introduce it. It has some CBD in it. I go, how much? He goes, 150 milligrams. I go, that's not very much, man. I mean, the minimum, the product, like our topical has 500 milligrams, and I have another one that has 1,000 milligrams. But he goes, no, but it has some other essential oils and other organic properties that are already worked to help pain relief. So I'm adding the CBD as sort of just an addition. So he sent me these 5 little spray bottles, and I had this like pain in my elbow. Just like the timing was perfect. I had this pain in my elbow. It's probably some sort of tendonitis or something that was kind of radiating down my arm. So I go, perfect. Send it to me. I want to try it. Has a great smell. And now this guy just made this probably in his kitchen or whatever. I don't even know what's in it. He won't tell me. He's one of those guys. I can't tell you what's in it. It's secret, but it does have CBD. The shit worked, man. I mean, I put it on, and
how long did it take, you think?
He sent me these, I think it was 4 bottles or 5 bottles, but they're small, tiny little bottles. Now that I'm running out of the bottles, the pain is almost gone. And it's been about a week and a half, so 10 days. Yeah, about 10 days. I called him after the second day. I said, hey, dude, you know, first night I put it on, it was all right. I could smell it. Smelled good. I went to bed. It was hard, hard to determine if it had any pain relief. But this was a kind of a pain. It's a recurring pain that comes back. I guess the inflammation just gets up on this tendonitis and it starts hurting, and then it just goes away. But it usually lingers for months. And I hadn't had it for a while. And then I put this stuff on, and I had to say, he goes, well, 1 to 10, how did it help? You know, what the pain? I go, the first night it was probably like a 0.5 or 1. I felt a little relief, but by day 3, it jumped up to a 6 real quick. I could actually feel where the pain was resonating from, like it had isolated the pain. So now I could put a little less and just, focus on that spot, which what am I doing? I'm saving money. I'm saving product, and I'm saving money. But I have to, you have to take those mental notes. I'm just not going to spray it all over the place. This stuff will eventually cost probably $50 or $90, depending on how much CBD it has in it. So that's why it's important to document what these products are doing for you, because you are our case studies, and you want to control your product intake and save money. Yeah, because it's $50 or $70 a month. That isn't
covered by insurance.
It's not covered by insurance. But if you can tell somebody, hey, if you take these drops, you're going to get a better night's sleep, or that back pain is going to go away, and now that's going to lead to better sleep. You want to manage your. We all want to manage our finances, and it's all individualistic, right? And but I would love to take his product to market. Let's see if we can. But again, like I said, he had some natural organic properties in there and some essential oils, perfect for the Latino market, man. because there was nothing, and that's his mission. Him personally, he doesn't want any chemicals. He doesn't want any of the things that make you sick in it. He carefully crafted this.
Hey, so do you think that the lack of products for the Mexican market is because it is still, or because it was illegal in Mexico?
I don't know if it's that it's, cannabis industry is such a mystery to a lot of people, even the English speaking market. I mean, look at all the companies that are going under or laying people off. They're having a difficult enough time just trying to make money in English. So Spanish, and throw that into the mix with this huge stigma. But we're different, man.
And as you said, there's a little understanding of the culture too.
And understanding of the culture, and that's why I believe if you come at the Latino market with ingredients that they're already used to, it's an easier sell. And we truly do have things that help you. Now we're just adding CBD to it, and we're not just doing it as a fad. CBD does have properties that can help people. So whether it's a drink or a topical or whatever it is, if you add CBD we're not just going to make a product just for the sake of making it. We want to be there not necessarily doing the research, but we want to know what's going into it because we want it to be a better product than anybody else's, don't we all? But that's truly what we want to do. That is the spirit of the plant. The spirit of the plant is get the best of it and provide it to the patients. If you're not doing that and you're doing it just for money, you're going to make some money. I grant that, but you can't. At the end of the day, how good are you going to feel if you're just making a product just to cut it and dilute it and get it out in the market and make your money, and it's not really helping la abuelita or your uncle or your whoever really truly needs it. My mom is a perfect example. I give her a lot of the samples that I get because she has arthritis in her knees and her feet, and she's my best test subject. There's things that I give her and she says that stuff worked or that stuff's not working. Hey, the stuff you gave me 2 times ago, that works better. I like the way it applied. She wouldn't let me smoke weed growing up.
Yeah, I know, right?
And but now she's like, what do you got? Give me some more of that stuff. And it's not THC stuff. This is all CBD based. So she got over the stigma. She sees that I'm able to make a career out of talking about cannabis and CBD. So now she's a supporter. Ardent supporter.
Yeah, dude, it's a trip. My folks are the same way, bro. They're, they'll ask me how the show's going and how everything's, but before they're like, wait, you're doing what? When I first started even the website, I'd have family members asking me, hey, so you sell drugs? I was like, no, what the fuck told you I sold drugs? Why would you think I sold drugs?
Yeah.
But
I'm selling the idea of drugs.
I'm selling the idea of drugs. I don't sell drugs, man. That's not my, yeah. But it's really interesting. It's a lot of fun, just the way you see just people transition,
Yeah. And I go to this music, it's a concerts in the park type of thing every Friday during the summer. And a friend of mine was there and she was telling me how she was aching. She had some surgery and she knew I was in cannabis and there were 4 of her friends there. They were at the table and I talked to her for about 10 minutes while the music's going on. I'm talking to her about cannabis, and the next year I saw them they were at the concert again, like they always are every year. She goes, hey, I started using cannabis. I got my medical card and thank you so much. It's incredible change that it's made in my life. I got other things going on, but that particular issue, I was able to help with cannabis. She goes, and guess what? And she points to all the other ladies. She goes, they all got their medical card too. She goes, it's all because of you and what you told us. Thought, man, that's badass, dude. I mean, I was sitting there just having a conversation, talking about something that I'm passionate about, and I helped these 4 ladies. And they're all, they're not 20 years old, man. They're in their 40s and 50s. And to see that I was able to help give them relief just through a 15-minute conversation, albeit it was probably a few 15-minute conversations. And then they follow me on social media, and so they kind of see where I'm coming from, but they've been helped now. And that's to me, that's why education is important, because now there's 4 more people who are advocates.
Yeah. And that's why I say, we shouldn't be afraid to, talk to people. You know, because again, a lot of people will throw up as soon as you start talking to them. They are going to throw up those old ideas that they had, those old hesitations. But if you can talk it through it and just remember, they're confused and probably scared themselves and probably in a lot of fucking pain.
Sure.
Because the older we get, you know, inflammation and pain, you know, if you're living with it, your day's terrible.
And I think that's part of it too. When you get to be older, you'll do anything to relieve pain. You know, if it means eating groundworms or whatever, if you think it will help the pain, you will do it because you get that desperate. If you're living 15 years with pain,
just constantly there, dude. Yeah, I couldn't imagine, bro.
We were talking about unexplained aches and pains now that we're getting older. Think in 20 years where we're going to be if we didn't have cannabis in our lives, how much that, you know, our bodies are going to hurt. I take CBD daily. Which I was quite surprised that pain was coming back in my arm, even though I take CBD on a regular basis. But I did boost it up just recently. I didn't do it until after I had tried that topical stuff because I wanted to keep kind of the same homeostasis in my body to make sure that, and so it just goes to show you that, your body might need a little more CBD. And I did tell him that he needed to boost the amount of CBD in his product. I go, man, take it up to 500, at least, because that's what people in the industry are used to.
So now, in case you missed that a little bit in the beginning, Rodney's basically telling you the older you get, you need to have more cannabis in your life.
That's right.
A little more cannabis in your life.
Yeah.
Food's going to taste so much better.
Oh, yeah.
You'll
be stressed. Think about stress right now in our society with everything that's going on,
stress
man.
Kill you.
Everybody is stressed. You turn on the TV and your blood level goes up, your stress level goes up. People are getting all the toilet paper and you're not. I can't touch anybody. I can't share a joint with anybody.
Oh yeah,
stress level.
That joint?
I got a method, man. I learned it. Yeah,
a little knuckle. Yeah, I got it.
Knuckle.
Okay, I got you.
But it's
and I'm completely going to cut you off. You can keep that little microphone fuzzy thing, bro. That's
okay, cool,
you,
man.
Bro.
Well, you saw my little my studio I set up next door. With the iPod, the podcast.
It's
so I do need
cool.
one of these for
that one you can hang on to. I've again, this is where your financial support goes, folks. These little foamy things, especially now with Corona.
Yeah.
Everybody who comes on, they get to keep theirs.
That's right.
If they want, I'll sign it for them. But everybody walks away with their own little foamy.
Good deal. Could you have me on again next week? Because I need two.
You need two. Sure, man. We can do this next week. I don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, man. Hey, but again, Alex, I can't give you enough props for 100 shows. Doing this when probably you started out with very few listeners and very few backers, and it was just an idea, but here you are 100 shows later.
Well, you know what, dude, on that, dude, it's like the beginning, the first few times, I don't know, man, the first 6 months I was like, fuck, is anybody even listening? I'm out there in the wilderness by myself, just whatever, fucking keep going.
No, man, you're creating content. That's what you got to do. Look at all the platforms that are out there. You have YouTube, you have Vimeo, you have LinkedIn, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, TikTok. I'm starting to see cannabis content creators on TikTok. You know what TikTok is?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I saw a guy talking about lighting, for cannabis, and then saw a friend of mine. She calls herself the Hemp Enchantress, Jessica Arendt, and she was on TikTok, and I saw her now. She's starting to show kind of products and stuff, and she's always very informational on CBD. So it's out there, and people are using these platforms. So it's really important to create content. It's. I think that's what the industry is missing is credible, educational content and entertaining content, and you're giving it, man. And that's what we need. We need more media. We need more media coverage. CNN and NBC and MSNBC and LMNOP, they're not really giving us the justice, especially now. You can't even put a cannabis story online right now with everything that's going on. So it's up to us media content creators to take charge of our own media and get our education out and and create content. So those first shows may have been, who's anybody listening? But look at you now, man. 100 shows later, now you have, you have a nice little tribe going.
Yeah, man, it's really cool, man. It's been a lot of fun. been a lot of fun,
Yeah.
man. All right. Well, fuck, Rodney, on that note, bro, I think that's a show, my friend.
Awesome, man. I'm proud to have been with you on 100.
I appreciate you coming on, man. Don't forget, everybody, if you have a question or a comment about this episode, you can send an email to inmygrow.com. No, I'm sorry. Nope. You send the email to inmygrow@gmail.com. You can find us on social media platforms, Twitter, Cannabis, Instagram. That is at InMyGrow And always helpful. Okay, you can help support the show financially. Go to patreon.com/InMyGrow. Leave a financial donation there. Or you can go over to inmygrow.com and click on the support the show tab. You can, buy a nice t-shirt. Or you can also use the Amazon link in the show notes before you go shopping on Amazon, because that lets them know that we sent you and we get a commission. And another way still, you can also send some money through PayPal. That is inmygrow@gmail.com. That's it, folks. Remember that I love you all very much, and to always grow, learn, and teach.
Let's go get on that research.
Oh, let's go get on that research, dude. Yeah. All right, I'm on it. Let's
All
go.
right, let's go.